Hey, it's been a minute. I haven't done a vlog in quite some time, so I figured I would go take a step away from the series-based stuff and just kind of give you an idea of what I'm working on, or what I'm working with in terms of my setup, my workflow, my development workflow, the chair I'm sitting in. I actually just got a new one, as you can see on my screen here. It's called a Gesture, and I got the hookup from my oldest sister, who is an interior designer. She gave me about a half off discount from the place she sources for this stuff for her company, and I really love this chair. It's very ergonomic, however you say that. And it's, I don't know, I'd never heard of it before. Everyone I know is like, oh, get a Herman Miller, or whatever they are, and I think those are anymore. I mean, they're probably good chairs. I don't own one, don't have one, never had. But I think it might be a little hyped, kind of like some of the products we're all used to and stuff like that. But this one is where I landed, and I really enjoy it. As you can see, it ain't cheap to start, but if you have the hookup like I did, I really recommend it, of course. So that's why I went this route. I got that only a couple months ago, and it's been a lifesaver, because I sit a lot, but I also have a desk here that I made, but it has a standing crank on it, so if I want to stand, I can. I do that every so often, but even that I get tired of doing. So a good chair is definitely, I think, the basis of everything you need. So on top of that, I recently built what is known as a Hackintosh. Let me go to my actual saved part list, and I'll go into more detail in a second. Yeah, so all these things. Okay, why build a Hackintosh? Didn't want to be locked into the Apple thing anymore. I love their software, not so much their hardware, and the fact that you can't really update it without just buying something completely new. They talk about being green, and I don't really think that's green. So with my PC now, which is what a Hackintosh is, it's basically a PC that you run Mac OS on, and I can part things out. I can, if I want to upgrade something in particular, I can do it. I don't have to just, oh, I gotta go buy a new one. But the hypocrite in myself just bought this laptop you're seeing me on. It's a brand new MacBook Pro. I needed it for travel a few weeks back. My other one was from like 2013 or something. I don't know. Quite a few years old, maybe 5. It just like said nope, and didn't, the screen was going crazy. It was beeping. It was making some crazy noises. Some sort of hardware failure, I think. Anyway, spur of the moment, I had to buy this. I had like one day to find a new computer, and I needed it for the trip, so I got it. Get to the place I'm going, and of course it crashes the first like few hours I'm using it. So not so fond of that experience, but so far so good otherwise. I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence with Apple right now, but anyway, this is kind of what drove me to build this Hackintosh, or PC, so to speak. But I also wanted to use Windows too, or experiment with Windows. A lot of people are switching to it. I think it's coming full circle on that side of the fence. But to do that, you need, some pretty advanced hardware, something that matches Mac's caliber, so to speak. So I use this site called TonyMac X88 to kind of guide me in the right direction. It is a place that other people are doing the same thing. So you've got a forum which has tons of questions answered if you run into trouble, a buying guide depending on what kind of computer you want to build, and also installation guides. It also gives you these boot software bundles that are, well, one's called Multi-Beast, one's called Unibeast. Essentially allows you to boot from a hard drive to install Mac on a aftermarket computer. It makes it possible. It also gives you a boot screen, so when you do boot up your system, you can choose between PC and Mac, or Ubuntu if you decide to install something like that, or Linux, whatever you want to do. And I think that's pretty valuable because I don't want to be locked in, you know. And the fact that I can upgrade, say, my video card at any time is cool. Another driving force behind all that, speaking of video cards, is VR. I want to get into that at some point. So I haven't gotten all the gear yet. I have friends that have it and love it, but I haven't gotten that far, mainly because of cost. But we'll see. We'll get there. So I at least have the basis now, and that's the beauty of it. I'll be sharing the links to this stuff, so if you don't see it on the screen, then sorry. But this is kind of the essential parts list I started with. So you need hard drives, memory, motherboard, a CPU cooler. It comes with a fan, but this one I have is water cooled or liquid cooled, which is kind of fancy but useful. Processor, of course, video card, the case it goes in, and power supply, as well as wireless. Gotta have your Wi-Fi. So from this list, I built what you kind of see in these photos. Here's everything in its original box. Also forgot to mention I got a 34-inch Samsung monitor. It's curved, so that's cool. I like it because there's no bezel. I don't need two monitors and that ugly bezel in the middle to look between and get annoyed by. So with this, I'm able to do a 2-up or 3-up view of windows I'm working on, and you know, happy day. So the only issue I've run into is like in a screencast scenario, if I need a new screen just for notes or code I need to copy, I don't have it, so that's kind of sucky. But beggars can't be choosers. So I'll share more of these photos, but essentially I just kind of took photos of the process along the way. I've got the case with the motherboard in here. It's a gigabyte motherboard. And then it says it's kind of it fully built and powered up. So I've got power supply down on the bottom left, storage down on the right. I didn't install any type of CD drive or floppy drive. That's kind of archaic now. I got a Wi-Fi card, our cooler here, and then the processor underneath. Fans built into the case, and then our video card. It gets very technical building a PC, so if you're on the fence about it or you're interested in it, I definitely do a lot of research before you go into building one. The parts need to be compatible, especially if you're doing a Hackintosh. It almost needs to clone or at least have the same specs as the software you're going to emulate. And here's kind of it booted up without any OS installed on the motherboard here on the new Samsung. But that's essentially the quick walkthrough of that stuff. You can ask me more about that in the comments in terms of the stats and costs and stuff. The cost is comparable to a cheaper iMac, I would say. But the beauty of it is you're not locked in. You can use this computer for time to come. If a part breaks, replace it and not the whole computer. To me, that's huge, and I like it. So the only issue is like updating software. It's a little more technical. You need to like verify that your audio will work, your video will work. All that stuff comes into play with an Apple device. It just works, and that's beautiful. But you know, with cost. Okay, so aside from my workflow, aside from my computers, like I said, I use the MacBook Pro now. I've got on the desk here recording me, and Windows 10. Windows I'll use, my plan is to use it for VR, but also some gaming, and then if I just feel like working in Windows someday. So I like to jump ships once in a while. The workflow. So I use, on a new system, if I have a brand new MacBook, I use this thing called Cask Room. And what it is compared with Homebrew, it extends the way you install macOS applications. So you don't do that DMG mounting thing and then dragging the app into the application folder anymore. This does that for you. You just do brew, cask, install, whatever app, and you can search the apps on the Cask Room website here. I don't know, it just look like Sketch or something. Sketch Toolbox, Sketch. You just copy this, assuming you have Homebrew installed. Make sure you do, and then you can install things like that. And then if you need to update your apps, all you have to do is in your command line is put brew update, and it does this thing. So you don't have to go to the app store, you don't have to do anything where it locks you in a flow like Apple likes to do. So I think that's pretty valuable. So you can do this on an existing computer, but you probably want to uninstall everything and then reinstall everything. It's kind of a pain if you don't have a new system. But so aside from how I install the apps, I like to make use of some workflow based apps. So Alfred's a pretty big one. I have a key command on the keyboard. It looks like there's an update, and then this will hunt for files, folders, apps, anything like that. You can configure that stuff too. I don't have the premium version, so that's something you can extend it even further with that. I just downloaded a new one called Clippy. It is a clipboard manager app in my menu bar. Probably hard to see on the screen, but basically just keeps a history of your clippings. So kind of cool. I use 1Password religiously. I can't remember passwords and usernames like I guess many people do. I think most people end up using the same one just because it's too much to remember anyway. So 1Password's kind of a fail-safe option in terms of being, you know, more secure, but still I can't remember shit kind of thing. I also use an app called Flux. It is good on your eyes. Sometimes I work late and that thing helps. You can turn it off for specific apps, turn it on for specific apps. Like coding, I'll definitely use it more. For design, I don't, because it tweaks the color of your screen and kind of toys with the stuff I need to see to really get things rolling. So I also use Mac 2 Imager. It's a screenshot manager, but it uses Imager as the host, so your files get synced up to the host itself on that site, Imager. If you've been on it, it's a kind of cool site to view random memes and shit like that. It's not maintained currently, so I can't say it'll be around for long or if it will continue to be, but I like to use it over like Dropbox stuff, for instance, because it's, I don't know, it's less I have to like go worry about. It's just once you take the screenshot, it notices it syncs it up to the site and gives you a link immediately, so you don't have to like copy the link or go find it in your Dropbox. It's really nice. Of course I get a phone call. Okay, so aside from that, those are kind of my workflow apps, how I get things moving around on screen and get apps open and closed. In terms of code, I use a mixture of editors. I've used them all. I've been on Atom for a while. I even used Coda back in the day. Don't hate. Loved Coda. Today I'm on Sublime Text for the most part. I'm transitioning to VS Code. I'm trying to love it. It's slower though, so it's like I don't know. It's not much slower, but it's slower. But there's some sweet things bundled with VS Code that I really like too. So I like how everything's in one place. You don't have to like do a command line to go install a package, and there's some actual like art involved. So that's cool. Sublime still is super fast to me, so I like it a lot, and I have some stuff installed and ready to go. I can just jump into a project and be ready to go. Everyone's probably going to ask, okay, what themes are you using? I use the Spacegray theme with the Ocean Dark instance. It is bundled, it's not bundled, but I use with it in Consolata with a font size of 17 since it's kind of a smaller font. And then I just tweak that theme a bit, and I like to use tabs instead of spaces to the size of the tab. And that's about it in terms of the settings. There's a lot you can do, as you probably know if you use Sublime, but I like to keep it simple, keep it clean. With VS Code, let's see if I can open it here. What did I have open earlier? Let's do a new window. I want to open my settings in this. This one I have the same font, of course, but I use a Bimbo theme called Bimbo, which I like quite a bit. It looks kind of wonky here, but in the actual relative space of a project like a WordPress project or something like that, it looks pretty good. Like I said, I work more in Sublime, so I can't vouch for this being the best editor of all time, but I do like it. The version control stuff in place is nice, all those things. So on top of code editors, I like to use now a command line utility called Hyper. It's hosted at hyper.is.com, and it's one based on HTML, JS, and CSS. It's very customizable. I bundle it with the thing called OhmyZH or ZSH. I can't say it. It's like a utility to help you kind of get about the command line easier, and it also comes with themes, which is cool. You can Google that. I'll put a link for it. But I was switched to Hyper very recently because the iTerm 2, which I used to use, had like some security flaw in it, and it kind of freaked me out. So a lot of times in the command line, you're passing through environment variables and like SSH connection keys and stuff like that, and you don't really want to put that out in public. So this one I switched gears for that reason. So I just realized I skipped over on my workflow. I use Backblaze for backups. That's a service, basically a cloud service for backing up your computer, as simple as it gets there. I really like it because they can send you a zip. Not black, that's probably gonna open up a bad site. There we go, okay. Yeah, so you can basically clone your hard drives, and it keeps tap on those. And if you ever have issues where your hard drive fails, which I just had one last week, they'll send you either a brand new hard drive if you pay a fee, or zip files of what you had archived. So pretty cool. About $100 a year. To me, it's worth it. If you work on one machine, it's $100 per machine. I believe is what the actual cost is. I like it for that reason, and it's really kind of install it once and you're done kind of thing. So security is nice. Okay, so back to the code. Locally, I've been in most of my videos using what I think everyone starts on is MAMP or something like that for a local PHP server, kind of that setup, the Apache, MySQL kind of thing, or Nginx now, which is kind of nice. Anyway, I've recently switched to Laravel, and I really like it as well. It's a quick way to just have a folder that's the home to all your sites. You can just do Laravel Park, and it will, serve your sites from there. You go to the directory, and you can put in quite a few different languages or frameworks. I've been recently using Kirby, as you guys saw if you're watching along, but I also use WordPress, getting into Craft. Yeah, and you can use all these on the screen here. Okay, so alongside that, for file transfers, I tend to use Transmit, my handy old Panic app. I used to use this alongside Coda all the time. How much do you need out of a FTP kind of app? This one's cool because it'll connect to S3 instances, so I use it for that at the moment for the most part. SFTP once in a while too, just to access files from clients who want my secure connection or something like that. SQL Pro alongside Laravel. There's no like PHP admin, my admin, like you would get with MAMP. So there's a free utility called SQL Pro that I use that with. You need to have MySQL installed on your system and create a database through the command line to access it. But once you do that, it's very easy to get going with. Kind of more not plug and play, but it's kind of worth it just to have that. With Valet, you can just type your site.dev, and there you go, you're ready to roll. There's a whole guide online I'll link to. Also use an app called Postgres. It's a GUI app for an app, and like basically a MySQL installation, but Postgres MySQL locally. I use that for Ruby on Rails apps I'm working on. The specific app I'm working on, which I'm going to announce soon, is necessary to use Postgres for the way it works. Not much more to say about it. It's just it's a cool GUI app. I can open it for you. Postgres. It works a lot like MAMP, so kind of nice. Go ahead and stop it. Close it. If I'm not using a build task or task runner, I'll use these GUI apps for image minification or optimization and SVG optimization. Image Optim is one you can just Google and download for free. The same is for the SVG Go apps. You can just drag your images or SVGs in here and it'll compile those down to save space. Always recommend doing that on any project you work on. Google's gonna, penalize you regardless, so you need to make sure your images are the most compressed they can be without being terrible looking. And then I've used this Markdown Editor for quite some time. It's called Typora. I think it's free right now, but I'm waiting for the day that they're gonna start charging for it. But it's pretty cool because you can write Markdown like you normally would, like a heading. And it looks that way when you're typing it, but when you break a line, it'll auto format. And to me, that's pretty powerful. I don't really like the ones that you have to preview in a new window. I think that's counterintuitive. So there's themes bundled with it, kind of cool. Right now I'm using the GitHub one. I switch it up quite a bit. And then on to design. So as you know, my channel's got quite a few Affinity videos. There'll probably be more soon, so look for those. I've been very busy, so Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer are kind of my go-to in terms of illustration and photo editing. I still make use of Photoshop and Illustrator for client work, but they're not really my favorite anymore. I find the interface very clunky, very kind of hard to use. Things are very tiny and they seem archaic to me. Affinity Photo and Designer are kind of clones of those apps, I would say, but not to the same degree. And the real-time updating that's going on in the apps I really value. And once I'm in Photoshop and I don't get that, I'm like, oh. So if you haven't used them, I would recommend checking them out. I use all the apps. I have another video on that. Sketch I use like a ton in my day-to-day because it's just scalable. I can sync my files to InVision, which I use for prototyping, as you can see down here. And that's pretty powerful for sharing designs with clients, getting their feedback, stuff like that. So any way I can automate that process is nice. I wish that support was for Affinity Designer and Photo as it is for Photoshop and Sketch. But hey, we'll see. Who knows? On top of that, I use an app called Nucleo for icons. Looks like it's closed. No, it's open. It is pretty powerful. You wouldn't think you really need an icon manager, but I used to use one called Icon Jar, and then it went like a premium model, and that was okay. But then I found this one. It was shared with me, and I really enjoyed it because you could instantly get your SVG code straight from the app. You can, filter by glyph, outline colored. You can change the stroke if you want, the corners, the color, and even the frame behind it. The color can be tweaked. So that's kind of nice to give you context. And of course, adjust the icon sizes. That's pretty cool. So I really like that one. You can add your own icons. You could download new sets from Nucleo. It's pretty cool. So really recommend that app if you find yourself using a lot of icons or even build your own. You can make your own set. So it's pretty cool. Let's see. Yeah, prototyping. I pretty much use Sketch these days for wireframing. The way you can use artboards, create symbols, and just kind of create symbols within symbols and stuff like that. It's really easy to manage and maintain and update later, which I find myself doing with clients who can't make up their mind. So Sketch is very quick, I would say, and to do things like that. But if I need to illustrate or, I don't know, create something very, I don't know, high fidelity, I really like Affinity Designer or Photo for something like that. And then of course for messaging, I use Slack like probably everyone else these days. I'm a part of quite a few channels, some on Ruby on Rails, some on Sidecar, Design Inc. still around even though they're not, but a lot of cool people on there. I could share what channels I'm on if you want. Some are for work, so pretend you didn't see some of those. And then Spark for email. I hate email clients, and this is the closest one I found that kind of fits my needs. I won't show you it because I have like 8 emails. I don't want you to see my emails, but I have so many emails that my issue is I need to see them all up on the screen, be able to switch between them and sync them easily. And with the way Gmail works right now, it doesn't allow you to do that. I've tried Inbox, I've tried, you know, just basic Gmail and switching between accounts. That whole switching scenario sucks. So I don't deal with it. I just still use a native app, and it works okay for me. I've tried just about all of them, and they're all either really definitely not geared towards me or just shitty. I don't like the default one by any means. It's just clunky and yucky. But I don't know. I just haven't found anything yet, and this one's pretty close to what I'm looking for, so that's pretty cool. When listening to music and podcasts, I don't have this on my list, but I just noticed I use iTunes still for podcasts and stuff like that. I have a great, huge library of music I've had over the years before Spotify and Pandora were a thing. But I find myself jumping between each of those apps to get new music coming in, or just like listening to old music for nostalgia's sake. Yeah. Most of my music I don't listen to from my phone like a lot of people. I have some big KRK speakers. They're powered speakers on my desk. Maybe I'll take a picture of my desk to share that too. It's kind of cluttered though, so who knows. But those are what that's what I hear most of the music from, and it's such good quality that nothing compares. So that's why I'm always like in this office doing that thing with the music. I use this really cheap M audio interface to get that music to my KRKs. I do have a sub too. Being a musician, actually before design, I wanted to pursue audio engineering. Then I realized you cannot find a job getting audio engineering these days because everyone can do it in their basement or bathroom, wherever you are trying to make music. So I still nerd out with that gear, but I just don't, you know, I don't get the best of the best. So I have some pretty cheap speakers, a pretty bass entry sub just to get that oomph, you know. And I'm kind of a metalhead. I wouldn't say I don't like country. I don't like rock, rap that much. Definitely into rock and roll, and that's kind of my style. You see Jimmy back there. He's kind of a huge inspiration way back when. Been playing guitar for many moons now, so if you find me, if you call me on Slack or something and you hear that crap going on and it's like screaming or something, that's just what I'm listening to. Don't worry. So, but yeah, I think that sums up what I'm working on. I'm going to share links to all this stuff. I think there's stuff I'm forgetting, but there's a lot that I've, you know, built my setup and workflow around over the years. And so far, so good. I have an actual other little desk for screencasts itself. I'm nerded out and got a little IKEA $100 desk for that, a laptop desk with a mic and stuff. So I'm going to probably be using that a little more as time goes on. But for today, I needed 2 cameras and stuff going on. So yeah, I think that wraps it up. If you have any questions about this stuff, please, you know, comment. I'm happy to answer them. I think most people are going to be concerned about the Hackintosh thing, which I was too. So I really recommend it if you're cool with building stuff and getting your hands dirty and researching all that stuff. It's cheaper. It's potentially way more powerful if you got the funds, and you're not locked in, which is the beautiful part. So hope this was cool video. If you liked it, thanks for watching, and look forward to your comments. All right, peace, guys.